Good evening and welcome to the premiere of This Week in Bigfoot, the new show that scours the internet and the Bigfoot community each and every week so you don't have to. Then we take it and wrap it up in a nice, neat 30-minute package. If it has to do with Bigfoot, Sasquatch, or the Wildman, we'll fill you in and let you know right where to find it. So settle in as we kick off This Week in Bigfoot.
We someone or something crawling around out here. Get somebody out there.
What's going on now, sir?
That son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know. He's all black, he's big. He is big.
Our top story shines a spotlight on David Paulides in the latest Missing Can-Am Project YouTube video, Bigfoot 101 Class 16. Now, in this video, Paulides takes the opportunity to rally the troops in his massive missing 411 army to settle the score with a seller on eBay that was allegedly looking to turn a profit on a Paulides memorabilia that just may have been more than the author thought was acceptable. The promotional missing 411 poster was apparently signed by Paulides and his son Ben. Ben worked as a cameraman on several of the missing 411 videos before taking his life after struggling with bipolar disorder January 31st, 2021. The former Miami University Redhawks defenseman was just 29. Let's take a look at this video.
These classes in my videos have attracted a bad element. And if I ever find out who's doing it, I'm going to put their name out there so we can all comment about them. What it is that about a week ago, I put up a series of posters, well, one poster from the first Missing 411 segment. And I have a number of posters that were signed by Ben and I when the movie came out. And I thought, I've had this box and a half of them for a long time. And they've been sitting in my garage, and I thought, better to get them out to people and let them see them and let them have them than let them sit in my garage. I didn't want to rip anybody off. But we're never going to get a signature from Ben again. So they meant a lot to me. So we've sold a few. And some idiot purchased the poster and put it up on eBay. And if you go to eBay, it's probably still going to be there by the time you see this. If you go to eBay and you search under Missing 411 poster, you're going to see this guy or this lady has it for sale for $3,000. In one way, as I was kind of flabbergasted. Hopefully no one's going to pay that, knowing that they can come to our site and get it for $20. Now, several people have said I'm underselling it because Ben's signature can't be replaced, and I've thought of putting it up there again at a higher value, but it'd all be affordable. But if I can find out who's doing it, and if you guys can dig through that eBay post and somebody knows this person, I'm going to put their email out there so all of us can go on there and review his work or her work, because that's absolutely ripping people off.
Now, unfortunately, when you choose to live your life in the public eye, and Paulides has over 400,000 members in his YouTube channel. He's probably sold hundreds of thousands of books. His appearance fees for motivational speaking at trade shows and conventions is over 5 figures. You have to be very thick-skinned and expect things like this to happen from time to time. Producing a video like this or producing the beginning of his video like this, I don't think was the answer. I think it's you got to just let it go. Mike, do you have an opinion on this?
Honestly, I can't say it's hard to blame him for responding so strongly. This is obviously something that hit Mr. Paulides on a very personal level, and I think you have to take this into consideration because, frankly, nobody can truly relate to what he felt or went through unless it was something that you too personally experienced.
It's unfortunate. The person who ever bought it, they now own that property and they can do whatever the hell they want with it. That's my opinion on that. For another opinion on this story, there is a video out there called David Paulides is Out of Control. It's done by the tall ones on his YouTube channel.
But what David is doing is called doxing and is illegal. I sent a message to the eBay seller to inform them about David inciting harassment towards them. As you already see in the screenshot, he's already well aware and is currently being harassed as per David's request in the video. The eBay seller is taking legal action against David for inciting harassment towards him and doxing him. What David is doing is not okay, and this is another example of how it's more about the money than it is about the cause with these guys.
Next up, we're heading north of the Canadian border to check in with everybody's favorite researcher to dislike, Todd Standing, and his SYLVANIC BIGFOOT channel. The video is called Astonishing Success on Bigfoot Expeditions, Sasquatch Are Real. Part 1 of a 3-part series, this 22-minute clip has Standing escorting 3 expeditioners or customers into the wilds outside Calgary for what he calls live interactions with the family of Sasquatch. We're going to move ahead to the 4-minute and 27-second mark. Let's take a look.
What sucks, that's the first time a Sasquatch has ever manipulated or moved rocks for an expeditioner, which is exciting. This is old growth forest. It's very special. See the giant trees? What the shit, guys? Is your camera rolling? That's close. You just heard 100.0% a Sasquatch approximately 80 yards or less away from 4 highly intelligent men, 1 wilderness expert, 1 MD, 1 amazing, incredible, world-famous photographer, and this freaking awesome outdoor wilderness expert being owned. And this is like, we've heard over a dozen sounds at this point, guys.
Thoughts on this, Mike?
I don't know about you guys, but didn't it seem like he was reading off something at first?
Well, I found it a coincidence that he coughed. He coughed real loud, right? And then the fucking noise happened. So it was almost like he was cueing whoever was back there to do it. Let's listen to that again. Right there. See? He does that.
Old growth forest. It's very special. See the giant trees?
It just seems, I don't know, it seems a little convenient for me. Chuck, what do you think?
Well, plus you had that loud tree snap before he coughed too, so there could have been a couple of different cues. So I see what you're saying, Brendon.
Let's not forget, it wasn't that long ago where there was, I believe it was the video was called Spending a Day Looking for Bigfoot with Todd Standing. For those who didn't see that, it was on 3 years ago, posted by PHILLIP Solo TV. Let's go to the 1-minute, 47-second mark on that. Maybe for people that don't remember that one, we're going to show you that.
Where they've killed, yeah? Oh, yeah. All right, so we walked over to Todd's truck as he was getting ready, and I don't know if he wasn't expecting us to walk over that fast or what, but as I approached, I saw the blonde girl he was with in the back seat holding like a gorilla glove, like the kind you'd get at a Halloween store or something.
Very suspicious over here. What was it? I missed it.
It was like a Sasquatch glove. And just in case you think I'm lying, I asked Todd about the glove later in the day. Yo, I gotta know though, can I ask you something? Sure. What was the deal with the Sasquatch glove?
Oh, just my brother-in-law got it to me as a joke. He was just fucking with me.
Anyway, on with the video.
My brother-in-law got it for me as a joke. He was just fucking with me. Change the subject, right?
I mean, you always have to take anything coming out of Standing's camp with a grain of salt, given his reputation. My thing is, I don't have much to say about Todd Standing, but I think the bottom line with him is, unless he literally drags a physical specimen out of the woods one day, any of his alleged findings will never be taken seriously.
Next, we're off to Hickory, North Carolina to see what our good friends and drinking buddies, the Squatch Watchers, are up to. In one of their latest clips, Bigfoot destroys an abandoned mining facility. The Squatch Watchers, Tate, Toby, and Taylor, investigate an abandoned mining facility a few miles from their regular research area. This is a place that they claim is heavily occupied and was recently destroyed by a Bigfoot or family of Bigfoots. Let's take a look. We're going to hit the 6-minute mark on this one.
They wouldn't have bent it back, broke the tip off of it. That's usually your bends you see for Sasquatch and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, I don't know.
It's
This
odd.
property is very, very.
Very strange and interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. See, one of these are broke back.
Yeah. Right there. But those over there aren't.
That is. And at the door and several places in, it looks like something stepped through the floor.
Mm-hmm. Something heavy.
Something. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Something heavy stepped through and fell. And then like right here, there it is again. If you look right there, it's heavy and fell.
Yeah. It had to have pressure there for that to go through.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can see where it's rotted on the other side, it's not that way.
No.
But it stepped, it's right there between the joists.
Yep.
Hey.
Yeah.
Give another call.
Sure.
No snow here, Mike, by the way.
Whew, it's cold.
Hands are cold.
Yeah. Here. Let me hold it.
So, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of anything Bigfoot in this clip, unless you count the calls tape makes at the 7-minute, 49-second mark. We'll check in with them next time and see if they make a little bit more progress on the Bigfoot front. The Rocky Mountain Sasquatch organization is once again coming under fire for posting less than legitimate evidence claims on their social media channels. For more on this story, here's Mike Luci.
All right, thank you, Brendon. Originally posted by the Rocky Mountain Sasquatch organization, the alleged trail camera photo shows what appears to be the torso, arms, and partial head of a humanoid subject caught mid-stride. The figure in question looks to be in the iconic Patty stance that frame 352 of the Patterson-Gimlin film so perfectly captured, a posture that's become synonymous with Bigfoot imagery. The photo allegedly came from someone simply known as J. Louie, who claims the bizarre image was taken in Pierce County, Washington, which has the most reports out of any other county in Washington state on the BFRO's public database back in 2020. According to the witness, she and her husband used to set up trail cameras on their property back when they lived in Pierce and found this astonishing photo one day while checking their cameras. The photo has come under heavy scrutiny by some prominent researchers like Steve Kulls, who posted 2 videos about the controversial image on his YouTube channel. Researchers like Kulls were skeptical from the get-go, questioning why anyone would set up a trail camera in that manner, along with how the photo's information strip lacks any type of logo, which is a common feature in trail camera pictures and videos. In a follow-up video, Kulls says one of his viewers discovered the image actually came from a 2003 French documentary called A Species Odyssey. If you pause the film at about 25 minutes and 50 seconds in, you'll get a still shot of a hominid in mid-stride whose stance and physical appearance practically matches the subject in the trail camera photo. Let's go ahead and roll that.
Il y a une chance. Le monstre ne bouge plus.
In researcher news, Missouri's Shane Carpenter was crowned Bigfooter of the Year. Carpenter was awarded the prestigious 2022 title by BigfootTimes publisher Daniel Perez. To find out why Shane was selected from a broad field of qualified researchers, we've got Dan Perez on with us now. So tell us about the selection process for this year's award.
Well, I've been keeping my eye on Shane Carpenter for quite a while. We were in touch several years ago. And again, he was in an area called the 400, and 400 meaning designating 400 acres of private property in a rural area in Missouri. And so he's been focusing just in that one area rather than just going all over. And he's been having good results, finding juvenile Bigfoot prints. And if you go to Facebook, a lot of his critics have been saying, well, this is just a young kid, a person walking around barefoot. And so what they did is Shane and his people there, they walked barefoot too to see if they could duplicate the tracks that they were viewing, and they could not. And so they quickly eliminated that as a possibility. And if you look at these tracks, the images, the photographic images, they're just completely beyond that of a person in terms of the dynamic movement that you see in the mud. And it's just very, very strange, I might add. And you get the impression that those tracks that are being laid down is being laid down by a foot that is enormously flexible. And so he just kept, all I could say, he just kept hammering and hammering and hammering away in that particular area. And I knew it was really time in 2022 when they found even more tracks. And then by the time we reported, more tracks had come in, juvenile tracks from that area. And because of his enormous amount of documentation of that particular area, I said there was really a hands down, Shane Carpenter is our guy as the Bigfooter of the Year for the Bigfoot Times.
We'd like to congratulate Shane on winning the award, wish him best of luck in 2023. To subscribe to the Bigfoot Times monthly newsletter, go to www.bigfoottimes.net. Trust me, it's well worth their very reasonable subscription fee. Tonight's edition of This Week in Bigfoot is sponsored by Broken Branch Designs. From outerwear and clothing to home and garden decor, Broken Branch Designs has everything to do with Sasquatch. For more information, visit brokenbranchdesignsllc.com. Can humans still grow a full coat of hair? The answer may surprise you. To fill us in, once again, here's Mike Luci.
A recent study published by researchers from the universities of Utah and Pittsburgh shows the human genome contains a specific set of genes necessary for growing hair. The study proposes that humans can, in theory, grow a full coat of hair. However, that genetic ability has been disabled by evolution. The study explains how regulatory regions of the genome facilitate where and when to activate specific genes, which in this case indirectly impact hair growth. The study reportedly uncovered genes containing a specific set in sprouting hair. Although these genes haven't been adequately defined, the team believes they could still highlight a new set of genes potentially involved in hair growth. Looking to explore why some mammals have less body hair than others, the study compared genetic codes of 62 different ones. The findings apparently give reason to believe that evolutionary processes changed the way genes acted, causing some mammals to grow less hair. In some mammals, like humans, however, genes encoding hair became less important in animals that were under increasing evolutionary pressure to lose hair or fur. This accelerated the rate of genetic changes permitted by natural selection, some of which may have caused hair loss. The research team believes their findings could help find new ways to potentially counteract hair loss in humans, in addition to a variety of other health conditions. Some in the Bigfoot community believe these findings are evidence that squatches retained their woolly exterior, which helped them adapt and thrive in their rugged remote habitats. While some skeptics do admit the study could be a potential puzzle piece to identifying the purported missing link between humans and other hominids, they're quick to clarify, using it as evidence to prove the Bigfoot phenomena is circumstantial at best, and the narrative in question is purely speculative, since the creature's existence hasn't been officially proven.
It's time Time to check in and bring you up to speed on a couple of recent popular podcast shows. First up, Sasquatch Chronicles. In episode 926, entitled You Saw the Slurry Troll, long-running call-in podcast host Wes Germer has on yet another witness claiming to have had a traumatic childhood encounter with the hairy cryptid. Arkansas resident and fellow podcast host Kenny. Now, Kenny claims to have had his first encounter at age 10. Let's see what Kenny has to say.
Take me back to that moment. Kind of what were you doing and what happened?
Based on my recollection, I was 7 or 8 years old, so that would have been in the early 80s, probably 1983-ish. But this is actually out in Oklahoma, just not very far out of Arkansas off the state line. My bedroom window was basically on that side of the house where you had the highest portion of the basement. You know, the window was probably 7 foot off the ground, and it has the bottom portion and the top portion. It had a curtain over the bottom portion. So I'm going to say the top portion is like 8 or 9 feet off the ground, probably pretty easy. And basically one night I went in there to go to sleep like usual, and I laid down in bed. I don't know, just had this feeling, you know, just kind of weird feeling, and just looked over and looked up at the window, and I saw this creature basically looking in the top of the window at, and it had just a light colored face with big brown eyes and just really bushy looking, really dark colored, shaggy looking hair. And it was just literally just staring at me like it's practically pushed right up against the window. And so, of course, I was scared to death and finally screamed and got up and ran and got my parents, and they came in there, and of course it was gone.
In the second half of episode 926, Alaskan Bigfoot witness Z weaves the tale of a Bigfoot sighting he had while driving home after a long day at work. Creature that Z and his friends call the slurry troll. Let's check it out.
How you came to learn about this slurry troll, as the rest of the miners would call it.
Yeah, so my now brother-in-law and stepdad worked at a gold mine in central Alaska, just above Fairbanks. And when I got out of high school, I hadn't really decided what I wanted to do yet. I was leaning military, but I hadn't committed yet. And just decided to spend a little bit of time. I started out as just a guy that picks up rubble and debris that gets away, and then I became a full-time operator up there. The mine has a kind of a policy you agree to when you start working there, is if something breaks down, they sort of estimate that the mine loses about $1 million an hour because that's about what it produces. And so when something breaks, it's not like if it's 5 minutes before it's your time to go home, you go home and just kind of wish the next shift good luck. Everybody stays until it's fixed. And sometimes that could lead to some pretty long shifts. And so just so happened, something happened in the mill, and my dad and I ended up being there for, it was, I think, totals like 36 hours with like a 2-hour break somewhere in the middle there to eat and grab a little kip. But we were leaving the next day, and I was exhausted. He was driving, and we had this little, like an 89 Geostorm or a 90 tiny little car. And I had my head leaned back, and I'd rolled the window down. And it was just kind of that, end of the day, you're finally at the gate, and you just take a big deep breath, and, I just sort of was starting to doze. And I lit a cigarette, and I was just kind of looking down the valley below us, and the year before there had been some forest fires that got right up next to the mine, and there were some leftover burned tree trunks sticking out of what we called a slurry pond. Slurry is kind of like a byproduct mud that's left over after you've gotten all the gold particulate out of after the mining process. Like a literal lake of mud at the bottom of this valley that was essentially a drainage collection pond. It's a super fine silt. It's like a clay when it's wet. And it was still, it was late wintertime, so it was maybe soft on the top, but there were still patches of snow and ice everywhere. And as I'm looking down this valley, this is a couple of 100 yards below us, basically right at the instant my eyes sort of registered that that's a weird looking tree sticking out of the mud, it started walking. And it didn't look exactly like the classic Sasquatch silhouette you see like on signs or whatever, but it had that definite like shape to its walk, but it it honestly just looked like a really big, skinny black guy, like kind of like Shaq, where he's like big in the middle, but his arms and legs are so long that they sort of appear skinny. Yeah, I would say maybe 10 steps is all we got to see of it, but it was enough for me to like slap my dad's arm and be like, hey, look at that. And he slammed the brake and he leaned forward and looked over my shoulder. He was kind of hurting my chest, leaning on me. And he's like, what the hell is that? And basically he got to see it just as it got into the tree line, just sort of loped up, and you could see little flashes of it, but not enough to even, maybe that's a butt or an arm or something.
Next up, Bigfoot and Beyond with Cliff and Bobo, episode 196, Tom Yamarone, Bigfoot Balladeer. Now, in this episode of the very popular podcast, Bigfoot favorites Cliff Barackman and James Bobo Fay speak with yet another one of their close friends, fellow Bigfoot enthusiast and kitschy Sasquatch songwriter, Tom Yamarone. After Cliff reads an email or two at the top of the show, the next 50 minutes is spent listening to the history of the friendship the three have formed over the past 19 years. Their Bigfoot adventures, more than a few inside jokes, and of course, a handful of snippets from Tom's Bigfoot songs. Let's check it out.
Yeah. Because when you said the monkey army, because you can go back and listen, I said, like, wait a minute, let's go back. Monkey army? Oh, yeah, that's my friend Johnny. For themselves, and that's just the children that we have. Like if you follow it the same way any of us follows a Bobo story, humbly. But you've known Bobo and I for quite a long time now. I consider you one of my best friends. I love you. You're a tremendous influence in my life for decades now.
You and I met 19 years ago at Kathy and Bob Strain's Operation Odyssey.
Right, yeah, which I credit as one of my very first steps out into the Bigfoot community, because I was Bigfooting for years before that, but mostly alone. And you can only get so far alone before you have to start, interacting with other people. And so you reached out your hand and helped me across the bridge over into the Bigfoot social world. So I don't know if I should thank you or curse your name, but at the same time, but it's gotten me this far, because the Bigfoot community is certainly a blessing and a curse. But that whole weekend was just a blessing. And thank you so much for the invitation to bring me out to meet Kathy and Bob and you and everybody else. And what a great weekend.
That was an incredible weekend. And my wife came on that trip, which really opened the door for me to keep going. I started in 2003 at Willow Creek's International Bigfoot Symposium. I wanted to go just to meet John Green, and ended up meeting Bob Gimlin there. And a guy took me in his truck out to Bluff Creek that weekend. You were supposed to pay to go in Jeeps and stuff, but he said, I know where it is. I'll take you,
Yams introduced us, Cliff. Yams is the one that got you together with me the first time.
Yeah, then I met you on the same trip as I met Moneymaker. I think that was up in the Redwoods, right? It was on out there on Gold Bluff Beach or whatever.
I met you in my driveway.
In your driveway at the house that's falling into the sea? Around the bend. Sasquatch Living Legend was the first song that you did?
Yes. And he agreed to put my songs on during the credits. So that was really my big break in the Bigfoot world, was getting my credits on the Willow Creek DVD of the Symposium DVD.
Running through the forest, I don't wear no boot, 'cause I'm a living legend that they call Bigfoot. They ain't taking my time, I don't need no watch, 'cause I'm the timeless creature that they call Sasquatch. You might see me running around the bend.
Sasquatch Living Legend was the first song that you did?
Yes, that was the first song, Bigfoot, the Living Legend. And then I wrote Roger and Bob on a camping trip in the Sierras with a guy named Tom Cousineau. Asked me, how do you write a song? And I said, well, I go like this, Roger and Bob rode out that day. And then, so that one took off. And I said, well, this is Al Hodgson and this is Scott McLean. They're pretty epic in the Bigfoot world. And I have a song called Roger and Bob Rode Out That Day. And she says, you do? You want to play that for this movie? And I said, yes.
Well, they got lucky when she walked away. Roger and Bob rode out that day.
Episode 196, in my opinion, is kind of like sitting at your favorite bar, listening to your buddies tell stories about Sasquatch. So, if you're into casual Bigfoot podcasts that entertain more than they inform, then this episode of Bigfoot and Beyond is for you. As the days get longer and spring approaches, Bigfoot fans look forward to the yearly conference announcements. To keep us informed on the who's, the what's, and the where's, Chuck Larson's got one of these shows in this week's Spotlight.
The Penn Ohio Paranormal Conference, hosted by Bill Rigby and the Agents of the Unexplained, is the show we're looking at today. This is the first year for this conference and is scheduled for Saturday, March 25th, rain or shine. The Paranormal Conference will be held at Hickory VFW, Post 6166, 5550 East State Street in Hermitage, Pennsylvania. Gates open at 10 a.m. and there's a $10 admission fee. A few speakers that are scheduled to talk at the event are Jenny and Jamie King, Brian and Terry Seach, New Jersey's Mike Femelant, Dan Hageman, James Krug, Mike Hartman, and Ed Kellerman. It's a nice variety of speakers covering everything from Bigfoot to Dogman to UFOs. Well worth a $10 admission. Hope to see you there.
That's about it for us today. I'd like to thank you for watching and remind you, if you have any news stories or videos that you'd like us to check out, you can email the show at thisweekinbigfootnewscast@gmail.com. For Mike Luci and Chuck Larson, I'm Brendon Brown, and until next time, remember, be informed, not biased. Take care.